Hello and welcome to Flooring Models Kit Review Time. Today we've got Zoukei's brand new tooled 1/48 scale F-4E Early Phantom. Now, as you probably know, this kit has not been around in many guises over the years at all. All we've literally had is the Hasegawa 1/48 scale kit. And as you know, I'm a massive fan of that kit. It's showing its age now. It's like over 20 years old. So consequently, with new tooled stuff, it's easily eclipsed. But actually, it's a really, really good kit. And back in the day, it used to be quite cheap as well. So you got good bang for your buck. Zoukei, though, sort of come along a few years ago with obviously their Super Wing series of kits, and it just takes it to that new level because obviously you get fully detailed cockpits, fully detailed wheel wells, all the various things go into this, and obviously with the new age of, you know, CAD work and design and stuff like that, they've turned out some really nice looking Phantoms. So we've seen the early ones down in this one, and we've seen the J series, but we've never seen what I call the long nose series, and now finally it's come along. So we've got the good old F-4E. I'm sort of hoping we will see other versions come along as well, as in, you know, the Wild Weasel version would be nice, perhaps like the German version, things like that as well as we make our way through. Anyway, looking down on the box, you can see computery type of artwork. I'm not a huge fan of it. It's a little bit too computery to me, but still very nice nevertheless. Okay, we've got a couple of shots down here on the side and a lot of stuff written in stuff I can't understand. Okay, we've got your kit number for this, which is simple, number 10. Nice one on that. And then we've got a couple more shots down in here showing the lovely ness of the actual Phantom itself. Okay, so in the box you are greeted by a loaded box. So you can see this is actually properly all the way up here. So it looks like we've got the tailplane, the various parts. We've got the clear parts, nicely sandwiched, and again looks like we've got both options in there, as in one piece and multi, which is very nice again. The fuselage of the beast, which is looking very good indeed. We've got the wing systems. We've got the engine and the intakes and the nozzles. Okay, and then obviously moving right the way through, you can see it is the kit that just keeps on giving and giving and giving and giving and giving and giving. Yeah, you get the idea. Okay, so you can see lots of stuff going down in here, and eventually we get to the bottom of the box and we are greeted by the instructions, which are in here. So we will just try and slice our way in here casually. Okay, so it looks like we've got a small maybe correction seat for decals, or it might be just because of the ones that have been missed off. In the bag just down in here we are greeted by a huge decal sheet. We'll talk about all that in a moment. Okay, and then we've got down in here multiple items. So we've got the instructions, we've got full size colour pull-outs, and then obviously we've got the various things and a little bit of a bump sheet about their other stuff. We'll look at that in a moment. Right, okay, so start off with into the instructions as always. Okay, just down in here you can see some of the nice things. So obviously down in here we've got wheel wells, obviously you've got detailed engines, cockpit, all the various lumps and bumps as you might imagine just in there as well, and that's not being able to read anything. Okay, so starting off with, we've got the colour call-outs, as you can see just down in here, but generally you've got the guns numbers, which are pretty easy to go, and obviously we've got RLM type codes, which is a bit odd down in there, and various things. Take them all with a pinch of salt. Okay, so starting off with, we've got the ejector seat in there. Looks very nice. Is that Martin Baker 7, I think it is? Again, very nice details right the way through showing you in there. Then we're working into the cockpit, so we've got actually foot pedals, which actually looks very nicely done ones, to be honest. Okay, even though you'll never see them. And then obviously, usual thing, it also makes the top of the wheel well. So that sort of standard way of doing it as it goes through. Then we've got a situation that's a little bit different to your normal sort of Phantom wise of doing it, but we've actually got the cockpit sides going on, and then obviously we've got the footwheel area going in the middle, and then bulkheads front and rear, which then again also make up underneath the actual wheel well, front wheel well as well. Again, talking about cutting off the tabs, fair enough, and again, quite nice down the side here because you've got detailed colour call-outs for exactly what things are. All right. Then we're working in, so basically once you've got this in, you're going to start putting in the panellings onto this one. So you've got these going in, we've got the actual rails for the ejector seats going with the bulkheads, things like that in there. Again, detailed painting guide right the way through. Then you've got your side consoles, which is a nice way because they're easy to paint on this one then, so you can pop them in, all of those, and then obviously you've got the sticks and the radar devices, things like that being fitted down into there. We've got throttles, all those being fitted in there, and then again more detailed guides as it makes its way through. Rails running right the way across the top, which is quite nice on this one, and then obviously instrument panels being fitted in. Again, more detailed guides showing it right the way through in there. Again, a few of these little ones are talking about obviously cementing positions, things like that, putting that one into, you're going to be putting the cockpit into this one. You've actually got the canopy release handle in there as well being fitted on there, all the areas, getting them in, and then eventually you can put this together. But it is mentioning about making sure it's lined up properly before you go in with the glue and stuff like that. Right the way along, various things. So we've got the little fillet going in there for the actual tail, so that's being fitted in there. A couple of little things to take care of and remove, which is quite nice that it is telling you about removing these parts. Again, nice colourful instructions. Okay, and then obviously various parts going down in here. So you've got the top rails, and again this is because of different breeds of Phantoms have different refueling receptacles on the top, so it's easier to do that. We don't get a radar, which is a little bit sort of, I thought you might get one, but obviously the aftermarket people could probably jump in. Nor do we get any detail on the gun. Again, I thought you might actually get this in this particular kit, but we don't. We've got the intakes as well for the electronics bay, for the cooling vents going down in there, then obviously the chin going on for the actual gun being fitted down in here, and then putting the nose together just like that. Okay, and then obviously the various fillets being fitted onto this one right the way in, explaining all the differences. Different types of tails, as you might imagine. This is the clear part as well for the light, and then you've got the brake chute on the back, and again it's not an active brake chute on that one. Engine is a beautiful touch with this one, so you've got a fully detailed engine right the way through down in here as well. So you've got the different versions as well. They're going to be coming along with this one. Okay, you do get a nice little sort of dollies for it, I suppose you'd call it, as well, if you did want to display it out of the model and show it that way. Again, opening up holes for your pylons, things like that being fitted down into this one. Fully detailed and full length intakes as well, so that's quite nice, looking down into the engines, and again some other parts being fitted down into the bottom right the way along. And then fitting those engines into this one, and they're going to secure up into those intakes, making sure you've got all that lined up well. And then we're into the wheel wells. So wheel wells being fitted in, and then we can sandwich the actual wings together. And then again down here on the front, we've actually got the hook, which actually locks the nose gear when it's retracted in place as well. Those being fitted in there. Again, very detailed instructions, very nicely done. And then good old way, and it's always going to be the make or break thing with Phantoms, is obviously the lower wing section going up into the fuselage. Pretty hopeful it should be very good. Okay, intakes, again, always going to be one of those areas of getting it sort of seamless to make sure they're all in there nicely as you make your way in. But we've got the inlet doors as well being fitted into this one, putting those in and then getting them secured in the sides right the way through. And then obviously back end with the engine. So again, the actual collars being fitted down onto this one, and then the engines being fitted into this one. And you do get an option as well to have open engines, okay, with the feathers all open at the back, or pushed in as well, okay, depending on, I suppose most of us would do them open as if it's in idle, okay. Flaps and slats. And obviously we've got the various control surfaces, different angles you can put them in, obviously powered down positions, and it talks about the different degrees of 16.5, or you've got 60 degree down on the actual flaps, and the ailerons and things like that being fitted into that one. Slats going on the front as well, and again I assume they are posable, so exactly what you're going to do. Again, it's got all the dihedral angles of 12 degrees for the wings and the various things, so if you want to get your details out, you can do it. These front slats, as we were saying as well, they extend down 55 degrees, 60 degrees, depending on which way you want to do that one as well. Tail hook into there being fitted in, just as you might imagine. Tail planes being fitted into this one, again, can go in there. And then again, depending on which version you're going to be doing, as in power down or whatever, you can actually angle the tail plane into whatever angle you like. Nose wheel system, pretty straightforward, being fitted down into there. Again, highly detailed all the way through. As you're making your way through with the main gear and all those areas going in there with your doors and all the various parts onto this one. And again, checking your angles. And again, it's quite nice to see this approximately 85 degrees. They do slightly lean forward. Again, I've never noticed any manufacturer mention it before, but there we go. So that's those in. Again, various items being fitted in there for the speed brakes if you want to have them down, or obviously closed up. And then getting near the end, we've got the seats, the canopy work, and again you get one piece canopy or multi depending on which way you want to do it. So if you want to do a quick one, perhaps for masking and stuff, you could use the solid and then come back with the other one afterwards. Okay, fuel tanks being fitted onto this one, and again you've got various pylons and call outs. So we've got some multiple ejector racks down in here, or you've actually just got your standard pylons, things like that being fitted in there. All your sway braces being fitted, sparrow loadout. So again, you've got 4 sparrows normally, and sort of your 4 sidewinders, that sort of classic air defence loadout with that one. And then we've got the triple ejector racks as well. So if you want to use the tier system, you can put those on right the way through, and then obviously you've got all your weapons. Nice little touch with this one, we do get boarding ladder, so we do get some ladders down in there if you wanted to go down with that one. And then obviously we've got all your sprues down there at the back. As you can see, this is the thing about Zoukei. We often talk about, budget and then mid-range and high-end kits. Again, this shows its thing that Zoukei's kits are just that little bit higher than perhaps you do with Academy. As I said, I often talk about Academy kits being really good bang for the buck. A little bit more, but you can probably see in there's a lot more detail goes into this kit than you'll get over the Academy ones, and that's the thing to it. Okay, so if you're going to build a Phantom, you're going to get used to this. So what we got down in here is all the stencil data. Don't think you can get away with not using it, because let's face it, Phantoms have it. Okay, so that is the thing to this one. So we've got Betty Lou as well down in here, obviously famous Phantoms, things like that right the way through. And then obviously if you wanted to and not wanted to paint, you've got all your details down the bottom here for the actual side consoles, instrument panels, things like that as well. But get used to it, you're going to put it on. What I do is a line at a time and save your sanity and literally work your way along it like that. But if we do look on the close-up, you can see they are very nicely done. Good, solid, clear printing. Look at that, hours of fun for the whole family. What number did it go down there? 383. Don't forget, that's not just 383 decals. Lots of these will be multiples of the same. So there's a lot more than 383 decals to go on it. Very nice indeed. Okay, so options. Betty Lou. Obviously, one of the most famous Phantoms out there out of Thailand. As you can see, looking very, very nice indeed. Again, whichever you do. And then obviously we've got your colour callouts down in here. And obviously some of the detailed painting guides as well. And obviously all for some of your various bits in there to get an idea of stencil placements and that. You can have a good look on this one as well as actually on the real things. So we've got that one. And then we've got, sorry, on that one, and then we want the other side. Yes, sorry, that's that one. Getting confused. Okay, and then in here, there we go, stencil data. Who doesn't love stencil data? To be honest, if you're into Phantoms, you sort of expect this, and it's what makes a Phantom as well. Embrace it, because it does look good with it all on, let's face it. But there we go, very, very nice indeed on there. Last up, you do get a thing about everything else they sell, and this is what we were talking about. So you've got the S Phantom, then obviously you've got the one we're doing down in here, and then obviously the Ds and things like that, the Cs and the Js. Okay, and there's our one down in here. Well, hopefully, there's rumours going things about growlers and stuff like that as well, which is very nice indeed. So, digging back down here, I suppose we really want to start with the... If I just grab these out of the way, we want to start with the old... We need to keep that safe. Fuselage. I'm running out of room down here, but there we go. So there's your fuselage. As you can see, it's not a small jet. By the time I've got a nose on here and all the rest of it, you're going to be looking about 37, 38 centimetres. So definitely not small at all. And then obviously, if we start in here, you can see how nice the surface detail is right the way through on this. So hopefully you can see it is very, very nice done. There is a slight texture to the plastic with all of their kits, and I can't work out if I like it or not. It does make actually for quite a nice adhesion for when you get the primer on. So very, very nice in there. The intakes, you can see the detail right the way on there. These are the actual engine rings around the back, and obviously these are the plates for positioning the tailplane. So obviously you've got the slightly down position or the flat position, so forth and so on. Internal details, as you can see, there's nothing really going on. Because obviously it's all made up. You've got a little bit of framework on the side here, but there's not much going to be going down in here. The only thing is you do get the odd ejector pin, like we've got them in here. You probably see them on the intakes. Again, are you going to see those? Probably not. Can you get rid of them easily? Yes, you can. So they're not really a problem, but they are there. Okay, very nice indeed. What I'm going to have to do is sort of bung them down here, I think. So with that one said, if we try and do some semblance of bits and pieces. Okay, so down in here we've got the main wing spar, as you can see, with it on here. That standard Phantom bottom that we've seen so many times with all the kits. right the way through. And again, this particular one's got the fatter type wing area onto it, so it's got the lumps and the bumps in it and everything else. But really, it's when you get into the detail of the actual markings under here, beautiful representation with the panel line, with the actual riveting, raised and recessed details right the way through. Because again, these ones down here near the speed brake, all of these internally are raised, externally they are all recessed. And again, we've got the strengthening plates down here, down between the engines. It's all done nicely. We've got the pylon section down in here with the workings and the mechanics right the way through on this one. We've got the vents down here at the front. Everything really you would expect with the Phantom. Obviously, it has got the bottom that's slightly different on here because we've got the panels are closed over. These panels here normally have the sort of the bridle for the catapult system. Obviously, being the Air Force version doesn't have them. The winglets you can see down in here. As you can see, fully detailed with all the various parts in here. Very, very nicely done. One-piece slats, as you can see, they are very, very nicely done. And again, on the blind side down in here, you can probably see inside. You've got some very nice raised riveting and a little bit of surface detail in there. Things like that right the way over it. So again, one of those ones where really, really good quality detail all the way through. Okay, so where shall we go? I don't think it makes much difference. So what we'll do, we'll just work our way through sort of methodically. Okay, so as you can see down in here, we've got the engines. So there's a lot going down on these engines. As you can see, we've got full length intakes. Really, really nice detail on the engines themselves. So if we start up here, you can see we've got the compressor blades down in here. We've got the afterburner ring. Down in here, your flame holder, the nozzles open or closed, really, really nice. We've got the tyres, which are split two-piece tyres and hubs as we've seen before. And then again, we've got the other parts for the engines, and then we've got the actual mounts and various things down in here, both sides, as you might imagine. Engines themselves, as you can see, very, very nice surface detail straight off the bat. You're not going to have to worry about going in there with too much wiring and stuff because most of it is all on there right the way through. Intake-wise, as you can see, we do have ejector pins in the intakes, but again, they're very shallow. They are going to be tucked out the way. Honestly, are you going to see them? No, you're probably not. Okay, nice touch as well is down in here in the actual engine ones as well. Obviously down in the back here, possibly you could see them if you were squinting from a certain angle from Mars or something, but generally you're never going to see them, so you're not going to worry. But they are very large sort of ones as well, so that's not a problem in there, as you can see. So actually really very nice details in here right the way through. Right, okay, so now we'll just grab them at random. Okay, so down in here we've obviously got the various parts, as you can see, and again looking around I can't see any problems with these at all. So straight in, really nice. So you've got the inlet doors with the barge doors looking really, really good. You've got the nose, famous nose. Got the gun with the gun vents and everything else. Again, I thought you might get a little bit of photo etch for those, but you don't. Okay, details from around the actual wheel wells. Okay, we've got the fairing as well for the front for the gun, and a few other bits and pieces. And then again, over this side, we've got the details for that wheel well with all the hydraulic-y bits and the side bits down in here. And then we flip over, as you can see, really nice detail in these wheel wells. They have got ejector pins, but they are down where you're not going to see them, so that's actually not too bad at all. And the smaller ones, like these ones down in here, don't actually have ejector pins on them at all, so that's okay. So a little bit of forward thinking there by Zoukei, very nice indeed. Okay, this one over this side is a little bit of the same. So sprue C, as you can see, looks very, very nice indeed. And again, it's the little refined details that you can probably see on these ones around here, like around the canopy area and the various things like that. We've got those bits of the ejector seat, okay, the little bits all around the cockpit, and then obviously which will turn into the floor, and again the various parts of the seats, multi-bits. We've got the pull handles for the ejection seats, things like that. Really very, very nice indeed. And again, even on the blind side, all the ejector pins are just a tiny little bit flush, which is really nice, but none of them are going to get in the way. But again, it's that little sharpness of detail, very, very nice. Okay, so down in here, okay, so tail planes beautifully looking. So this is sprue R. And again, for the different ones, so the E has got the refueling receptacle on the spine up here, so obviously it's in place and everything else for it, for these areas. We've got the pylons looking very, very nice right the way through. We've got the sway braces, we've got the control sticks down in here, very fine detail, things like that. And then working our way along for all the little parts on this, as you can probably see, beautifully done. Lovely riveting detail and everything else like these on these tailplanes. So again, very, very nice indeed. It's got a slight lift on the front. So actually, this is the top. Looking very, very nice with all of that. Again, and the wheel hubs, nice detail. Not a fan of split wheels and all the rest of it, if I'm honest, but if you're going to do it right, and these do look very nice indeed. Okay, so, right, so this is your flaps and your ailerons for the Phantom. As you can probably see on the one sprue down in here, slight differences is them, and we've got a couple of little blade antennas, things like that down in here as well. So it actually looks very, very nice indeed. So specific, and some of these I'm sure are going to be duplicates, so we're just trying to have a look. Right, so cockpit for the E. So as you can see down in here, obviously being aircraft specific now, instrument panels slightly different, front coaming slightly different, side panels, things like that. So this is specific for the E on this one here. So that's very, very nice indeed. Nice level of detail on those. Okay. Okay, those and those and those. Those are going to be the same. So what we're up. Okay, so we're pretty much into everything that's on here. So these are getting a little bit generic now. So what we've got down in here, and obviously we've got two of these, is the pylons for the weapons. So this is sort of fuel tanks and weapons on this one, as you can see. So obviously we've got the outer wing tank just down in there. Then obviously we've got the various things for the sidewinders and beautifully detailed gyros on the actual tips there of the sidewinders. We've got your Sparrow missiles in there. So we've got two of those, because obviously they're generic. Then we've got, I think this is slightly different on the F-4E, just because of the nose and everything else like that, because it's the Air Force version, has slight differences. So down in here we've got that centre line tank. We've got the doors. I'm sure they're slightly different because it has this little thing on the doors, but I'm not too sure. Tail hook as well, nose wheel, and things like that as well. And we've got another centerline tank on this side, slightly different one as well. So again, very, very nice indeed. Pylons, which I think are generic. Mind you, you've got Air Force style jammer pods, so it might be F4 related. Okay, so I say I'm not up on the jammer pods too well. I think this is the old type, and then they moved to this type because it's more aerodynamic. But I can't remember the ALQ designation on those ones, but I'm pretty sure the originals were this one, but it would have been later. I don't think this would have been an early Phantom fit. I think these actually jammer pods came along a little bit later in life. Okay, but anyway, pylons, as you can see, looking very nice indeed. And then down in here, we've got your tiers and your mirrors. Now, I call them a mirror for multiple ejector rack, but apparently they're not called that. No one's ever called them a mirror, but it's what I call them. But I do know it's a tier. So, very nice as well. So you've got your triple ejector rack and your multiple ejector racks, really very nice. Again, the only option you used to be able to get with that was a Hasegawa weapon set. So it's nice that they've got a good quality detail one in there as well. Okay, now we're getting to a little bit more of the early Phantom stuff. I do believe, I don't know if this is a duplicate, it is. So this is a duplicate again, we do get two of these. Okay, so it's just that we've got the early style sidewinders as well as the later style sidewinders on here as well. But as you can see, beautiful work on all the fins. We've got access ladders. Then obviously we've got the different heads for sidewinders for the different versions. And then obviously we've got some Sparrows down there at the back, right the way through. So again, we do get two of those as well. Okay, last up is the clear parts. Okay, and this is beautiful. The first thing that always grabs you when you look at clear parts like this is that they reflect and they sparkle in the light, which is usually a good sign. What's really nice with these is that the clarity is absolutely beautiful. They're not as in, you've got a little bit of shimmer as you move them around, but because of the curves and everything else, you expect that. It's just that generally they look crystal clear. And when you've got things inside, like you pop your finger in there, they are clear. Okay, so I said before, you've got two. So you've got the one-piece one if you wanted to go with it all buttoned up and away you go. Or you've got the actual individual. So you could use this one for masking and then put the individuals on afterwards, and that tends to be what I do. The only thing is, I will say, and it is a small bugbear with me, is that there's no framing that you can feel is in a positive way. It's very, very fine. So if you wanted to put tape on this and then mask it and follow the panel line round, you're not going to be doing that. You're going to have to do it visually or by a mask set, because they're incredibly fine. Now, probably from a scale point of view, they're, I would probably think, accurate. But from a modelling point of view, that makes it really difficult for a modeller to just push up some tape and then, you know, burr it in and then cut it. What you'd have to do is in sections, I feel, to go around, or buy a mask set. But there's no easy way of just pushing the tape on, looking, you can see where it is, and then cutting it like I would normally do. But again, I'm sure that's probably more a scale point of view than it actually is a modelling point of view. So from the modelling point of view, you lose out to reality, I'm afraid, on that one. But generally, you can see it beautifully, very, very clear. And that's it. So my opinion is, again, I do eat humble pie because I always used to say that these are overpriced, because obviously you've got Hasegawa, but then they're really expensive these days, aren't they? Academy, the prices have gone up on those. Funny enough, Zoukei, the price came down a little bit. So the competition's got a lot closer and a lot tighter. And it is one of those things, if you're building multiples of, you might think, I'll do the Academy one because it's a little bit more straightforward and it's a little bit cheaper. But if you're one of these people who wants to do a one and done, so I'm going to do myself an F-4E, and that'll probably be the only one I do, I have to say, you're going to want to go out and spend that little bit extra and get the Zoukei one. It's got some details in there that you might not even use. So again, that engine details, if you can put the engines in, you're never going to see them and everything else like that, but you do get the option. It would have been nice, to be honest with you, to get a little bit of detail work for the gun. Perhaps you could open up the chin and see the barrels, and again with the radome as well, perhaps if you had an option to see the radar. That, I think, would have made it the definitive must-have, you know, warts and all, everything you're ever going to need in a Phantom kit. But again, it's close enough. I'm sure the aftermarket people would be down there if you wanted to grab that route anyway. So anyway, there we go. That's a Zoukei's brand new 1/48 scale F-4E Phantom 2.